Let's answer Ben's question. Can the Rangers have the Japanese Degrom, who is Rōki Sasaki? He's been called, a guy who's, got Jacob Degrom type stuff, and Eovaldi. And the short answer is yes, they can, because they can get Sasaki, Jeff, if I'm not mistaken, basically for the league minimum, right? I mean, there's some other things involved to get him, to acquire him, as far as the posting fees and all that. But the pay that they would pay him would be minimal by baseball standards.
Yeah, if you're he's not eligible for free agency. He would fall into under the international signing rules, in which case he can sign for whatever you negotiate out of your international pool. The key on that is, of course, what are you going to pay him on the back end, and that's probably discussed during the whole process. But yeah, his first year, just to make it look good, you're going to be paying him the league minimum, because you don't want to sign him and then come out and announce, hey, we've signed this guy for a 20-year, $2 billion deal.
Right.
You need to at least make it look legit. So, but yeah, it is entirely possible that the Rangers could sign Rōki Sasaki without it affecting their ability to sign Nathan Eovaldi.
That would be Christmas morning.
Well,
times a
can you
million.
imagine Degrom, Eovaldi, Sasaki,
And a baby Degrom, apparently.
and then a baby Degrom, and then
Rocker.
you've still got Rocker.
I mean, Rocker's game is really similar.
Yeah,
and Mark Leiter's cousin, who's pitching in the World Series right now, Jack.
Yeah. So anyway, it could be. I mean, that would be an unbelievable pitching rotation if it were to come to pass. There's a lot that has to go on, because any team can essentially do the same thing. It's a matter of which team Sasaki decides he wants to go to. Will he want to be a part of something in Los Angeles? Where in the Dodgers organization in particular, where obviously he's got a couple of well-known countrymen in Yamamoto and in Shohei. So, do you want to go there and have a certain amount of comfort level, or do you want to go blaze your own trail, or which direction do you want to go as you're making this decision? And by the way, you're a pretty young man making this decision.
Yeah, I think that kind of, I've heard two things, that he may not want to sign with the Dodgers and be your own guy, but I think the industry is like, well, it's the Dodgers to lose if he's to get posted, because they can, they just figure out a way to do it. And the Dodgers are just wildly popular right now in Japan for obvious reasons. Their viewership for Game 2 of the World Series was higher than the U.S. viewership by a million.
Great fan base.
And it's I don't know. I mean, you just hope you can get into the room with him, sell your organization, make him a deal that'll blow his doors off. Tell him why. I don't know if you want to compete against the Dodgers, and in your interview say, well, here's why we're not the Dodgers, or here's why you'll like us better than the Dodgers. Just make your best case and go from there. But getting into the room is a big deal. I think that Chris Young being in the room, a former major league pitcher, with a guy who wants to be in the major leagues and can speak the language, will make a lot more sense than a bunch of Ivy Leaguers trying to tell him what's going to happen. Now, of course, I'm sure that Ohtani would be part of any proposal the Dodgers have to Sasaki. Excuse me. But just get in the room and see what happens. Because, I don't think anybody expected the Angels to sign Ohtani. To be honest.
No.
And so see what happens.
Yeah, and there's so much that factors into the personality of the young man. And I don't know, maybe you've done a little more research on this than I have, Jeff, but if he's from a really small community, right?
Yes.
He may not be as comfortable in Los Angeles. I mean, obviously Shohei has been only in Los Angeles as far as a home in the United States. He was down in Orange County with the Angels, and now up, in Chavez Ravine and all that. So he probably hasn't even had to move from the LA area as far as that in-season home goes. This young man may be from a small town and would find a Texas or, a smaller community a little bit more appealing. Not that we're that small, but we're a lot smaller than Los Angeles.
He is from a small town.
Okay.
In Japan, he's it's a chore to get out to see him. The Rangers saw him at his home when he was in high school, and it was a 3-hour drive from Tokyo, I believe it was. So you bring up a good point. How's the guy gonna? Is he ready for the stardom now? I mean, he's the biggest thing in Japan right now. But are they playing in front of giant crowds? I'd imagine the media, the reporter pool is pretty deep when he pitches, because there are a lot of newspapers and outlets in Tokyo and throughout the country. But is Chiba City a big town? He plays for the Chiba Marines, as they're called. It's probably, I mean, it's not in Tokyo. It's kind of, I don't know if it's a suburb of Tokyo, but it's not Tokyo proper. So that's a pretty interesting point you bring up. And it might work out like that. I mean, maybe he'd like it in Fort Worth. Nice little relaxing spot in Fort Worth.
A little more laid back. Yeah.
I also think it could be appealing to not be on the Dodgers, because I just think you don't want the comparison of
Agreed.
people. Ohtani. I'm just going to put it that way.
Yeah.
Again, I've said it once. If he's being called baby Jacob Degrom, it would make a lot of sense for me to go where Jacob Degrom is.
Sure.
If I'm being compared to the best pitcher in baseball, heck, let me go directly to the source and be a literal sponge and learn what I can. Now, I don't know if he likes the comparison or not. I wouldn't mind it, I imagine. But I think, if that's your true comparison, that's really why I think it would make so much sense to even consider him here.
Well, and one thing that I've always heard, and I don't know if I talked about it on the show or not yet, but in Japan, they really believe in meritocracy and seniority. And so, like, if you're a veteran player and, there's a rookie in the clubhouse, like, you tell them to do anything.
Yeah.
And they have to do it. It's like, hey, go clean my socks. They don't have a clubby do it.
It's like hazing.
It's kind of like hazing. And so there was some thought that Yamamoto would stay away from the Dodgers because maybe Ohtani would do that to him. Now, I don't know that he has or anything like that, but it's another factor. Just all these things that are out there that are nuts. But the teams have presence in Japan. The Rangers have a great presence. That could be a factor too. Maybe Sasaki really likes Joe Furukawa, the Rangers director over there, and I just really think that Chris Young's gonna, if the Rangers get in the room, would be a driving force in getting it done. Just his ability to speak the language, and just kind of hey, I'll be there to navigate you through this. We understand the difficulties that Japanese pitchers can have with whatever, the ball, the travel, the condensed pitching schedule. We can make this happen for you, and you'll really enjoy it. And there's direct flights from DFW. There are all kinds of things that you can say.
Yeah, well, and read the tea leaves. Chris Young went to Japan in the final couple weeks of the season. It's a very busy time for general managers, right?
Yeah.
And CY went over there, and it feels like with a purpose, right? Like this wasn't just let me go check in on him.
Yeah, he's been very intentional.
Yeah, I think there was a reason. There was timing. Some of those things certainly wouldn't have been stated, but there was a reason that he went at the time that he did. And I believe, to your point, Jeff, that the Rangers have proven over the years that they're very good
Consistency is key.
The relationships, right? This isn't just about talent, and this isn't just about money, obviously, although that's a big part of it. This is about relationships that you have. These young men are coming to a completely different country and an unbelievably different culture, and so you have to trust the people that you will be working with and for. And if Joe Furukawa and Chris Young have begun to build that trust in this young man, not only it's like recruiting, right? It's like recruiting a college kid. Not only will he like them, but his parents will like and trust them. Thanks for joining the DLLS Rangers podcast. Be sure to like us, subscribe to us, and upgrade your subscription. Become a diehard today.
all city like the mayor.